Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Today we have a Pan Those Eyeshadows update, which I'm so excited to be filming. I'm so excited to share with you all the progress that I've made. It has been several weeks since my last update. It's been several weeks since my last upload in general. I just needed a minute. I did not have the capacity for any of it, so I took a little bit of a break, and it's the end of the month. There's a lot of updates that need to go up. So I am so excited to get back into the swing of things, to, power through and get a couple uploads up to you in the next couple of weeks. I'm so excited to get back into the groove. I do apologize for the lack of communication and everything. I just, like I said, did not have the capacity, did not have the bandwidth. So we're back, and I'm so excited to be back starting with this video, because this is a very exciting Pan Those Eyeshadows update. It has been about 5 weeks since I last filmed an update to this project, so I have had a little bit of extra time to make a little bit of extra progress, and I feel like this is a pretty big one, a pretty good one. This is the actual last update for this project. I will be wrapping up this project nearing the end of November, which will come so soon. But I am super excited for that next update as well, or for that finale rather, to this project, because we're gonna be chatting about my stats. We're gonna have lots and lots of numbers to talk about in the next update. So anyways, I'm in a rambly mood because it's been a while. It has definitely been a hot minute since I sat down and filmed. So yeah, let's hop on into the update. Let's start it off though with some bonus pans, actually. So in recent updates, I really haven't been hitting very many bonus pans, but this past month, I've managed to hit pan on 5 additional shades in addition to my Pan Those Eyeshadows focus items. So let's talk about those first, because this is just like super exciting for me. It's really fun to sit down and share with you new shadows that I've hit pan on. And I've actually hit pan on 2 shades in my What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. I did receive this in PR when this palette came out, and I've hit pan on the shade Crystal and the shade Citrine this month. So that like light bluey purple shade right there, that one I've hit pan on this month. And then Citrine is that yellow one. I did already have a pan in the shade Amethyst, but it feels so good to look at this palette and now have 3 pans in here. I'm definitely gonna be able to hit more pans in this palette in the coming months and hopefully years with this palette, because I absolutely love it. Every single shade has a little bit of usage and some dips on it, because this is just a beautiful palette. The color story is so incredible. The formulation of the shimmers, the metallics, are just amazing, so shiny, so delicious, and I just find myself reaching for this palette very often because it's super inspiring. So 2 new pans is a huge deal to me in this palette because I haven't been focusing on it. And then I also hit pan in this Super Shock shadow. I received this in PR about this time last year. This is the ColourPop Super Shock Shadow Ultra Glitter in the shade 2014. I hit pan on it fairly recently, and as you can see, there is really even usage across the pan. I have used this so much. This is a beautiful kind of topper shade to wear in addition to basically any look with any color underneath of it. It is absolutely stunning, and yeah, this is just something that happened naturally because it is a beautiful color that I just love reaching for. So it just happened on its own, which is so exciting to me. And then just today, while doing today's look, I hit pan on a Makeup Geek single. I've been reaching for this a lot lately as kind of a transition shade. This is the shade Peach Smoothie from Makeup Geek, and as you can see, there's a tiny pan there right in the middle. And I was using this to kind of blend out that deeper matte orange that I have on my lids and on my lower lash line in today's look, and it kind of surprised me to see a little pan in there. So that is something that I'm super hyped about. And then the final bonus pan that I have to share with you comes from my Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I'm actually focusing on this palette in this project pan, so it just kind of happened naturally because I've been reaching for this so often. I've just been really trying to lean in and enjoy this palette because it is perfect for this time of year. And I will cover up the shades that I'm actually focusing on, but I was able to hit pan on the shade called Pure right here, which is like a mid-toned brown. It's kind of more of that creamy sort of formula, that one right there. So now I have tons of pans in this palette, which feels so good. This has been a great base kind of shade. I love wearing it underneath of really warm toned looks. I've been really enjoying wearing it as a one and done shadow as well. It's just so pretty and smoky but effortless. It's been a really great shadow to integrate into my looks lately. So 5 freaking bonus pans. Now let's actually get into the update. I'm gonna swatch out all of the shades that I've been focusing on, and then we're gonna chat through them. And I'm so excited to share with you the progress. So I've swatched out all of the shades that I've been focusing on since my last update in this project. And as you can see, it was a perfect transitional kind of palette, bringing me into the early parts of fall. Really focused on those warm tones and then that pop of a beautiful blue. This is just a very cohesive and mostly monochromatic, but with a pop. So in my images that I'm gonna share of all my looks, you'll definitely see a lot of repetition with these warm tones and then a contrast with a cool tone. And I think you can see now why I hit all the bonus pans that I did, because I was kind of amplifying the looks with a lot of those particular shades. So yeah, this has been a really fun color palette. Now let's hop on into the progress that I've made on each of these. The top shadow that I have here is called Penny. It comes from the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I have been working on this shadow actually for 4 months at this point. 4 freaking updates, which is a long time. Generally, I find that I can roll out shadows after 2, maybe 3 updates, but this one was taking me a lot longer than I would have anticipated, especially because it is a beautiful coppery bronze kind of shade that is so easy to wear with so many different looks. It's a very neutral shade, a very flattering shade, but I had only used it 13 times in the first 3 updates of having it in the project, which is just a little bit far behind to be able to actually hit pan on it, but I was able to use it 10 more times this past month, which is great for me because 10 uses got me to the finish line, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna share with you what Penny is looking like today, and I'm gonna cover up the shade Ripe, which I'm also working on, but that is Penny right there. There's Penny, and as you can see, there is a pan right in the middle of the pan. So that is super exciting. I did wear this oftentimes as more of like a liner as opposed to as a lid shade because it can be a little bit cumbersome. It can take a little bit of extra effort. It is more of a flaky, loose kind of metallic. And so it just required a little bit of extra effort. I did find it was really effective as a liner though, and looked really flattering on my complexion as well. So that is a very exciting pan for me because it has been in the project for quite some time, so I'm happy to have reached the finish line on it. I've also been focusing on the shade Ripe in the Metropolis palette, and this is a gorgeous deep orange shade. It is a matte, and it is just a perfect shade for this time of year. It is something that goes with so many different eyeshadows, really warms up a look. I'm wearing it over the entirety of my lid today with just a spotlight of a liquid shadow kind of on the inner corner on the lower lash line and then also on the very center of my lid. But otherwise, this and Peach Smoothie is the entirety of my eye look, just blended together. And the shade Ripe I've had in the project now for 2 months. In my first update, I was able to use it 7 times, which was great. But actually this month, I've really leaned into it. I've been wearing it a ton. I've worn it 13 times since my last update, bringing me up to 20 total uses in Ripe. And you would never know that I've used it 20 times. This is Ripe right here. Mattes are significantly more challenging than metallics. And this is ultra pigmented, so it's something that you really don't need very much of in order to get some really good pigmentation and to get an effective look out of Franklin. Franklin just moved my camera, but apologies for that. So I am gonna keep focusing on it for the final month of this project. I'm really hoping to make more evident usage, but I don't think I'd be able to hit pan on it because as you can see, there's a dip. It's obvious that I have used it. It's not brand new, but I'm nowhere near hitting pan on it. There These shadows are very, very deep. Every other shade that I've hit pan on, you can really see how much work had to go into it, and Ripe is definitely not going to be able to get to that point in the next month. When I used it 13 times this past month and it looks like that, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep using it. I've been really enjoying this shade actually, and yeah, hopefully we get some really great usage on it in the coming month as well. The next shade I have to share with you is called Big Sky, and it comes from the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I rolled this in my last update, and this was something that I was very excited about, not only because it's a fun kind of contrast to the remaining shades that I have in this project, but also because I already had really great progress on it, and I knew if I just put in a little bit more work, I could make that happen. I've actually used it 7 times this past month, and I was able to hit a pan in it. So that's what it's looking like today. It's actually a pretty significant size pan because the final time that I wore this, I used it as a nail polish, which is super easy to do. I will link that down in my description box. I have a tutorial on it, so I'll leave that in the description box for you to check out if you haven't already. But it's an incredibly easy way to just kind of amplify your nail polish collection, but also make great progress on your eyeshadow collection. So I had a ton of fun wearing this as a polish, and yeah, I was able to hit a pan on it, which feels so, so good to me. So I will be rolling this out of the project and rolling something new in its place at the end of today's update. But we do have one final shadow to also talk about before we get into the roll-ins. And here is that final shade. This one comes from my ABH Norvina Volume 1 palette, which is a palette that I depotted last year around Christmas time, I believe. So I only kept a few shades, the ones that either didn't break or the ones that I actually really enjoy. And this is one of the ones that didn't break. It's not really a shade that I particularly enjoy. It is a red, and it has a lot of red shimmer throughout it. And it looks beautiful in this swatch, but in practice, it doesn't really work on my eyes very well, maybe because it is a little bit older, or maybe it's just the formula itself. I really don't know. But this shade I think was called C3. And I've only used it twice since I last updated this project, which is dismal because I have had so long. But in that second use, I decided I don't like this shadow. I don't want to keep using it. So I am going to be decluttering it. So this is what it looks like. Of course, you weren't gonna notice any major change after only 2 uses. However, I did really try to like build it up on the lid, try to get some really good impact and color payoff, but it just didn't work for me like that. A lot of the time I would end up with tons of fallout down on my face, and then just like this dusty red pigment up on the lid. And it's just not my vibe. I have no interest in trying to make this particular shadow work. I'm just going to call it quits, declutter it. I just got to this point where I have a lot of eyeshadow and I love a lot of my eyeshadow. Why would I force myself to use something like this in this project? Especially because I only have 1 month left of this project and I know I'm not gonna hit pan on it. I know I'm not even gonna reach for it. So why not give myself the opportunity to use some eyeshadows that I actually really enjoy? And yeah, I'm just gonna declutter it. This past month has shown me that I'm not interested in using this, and I don't think that's gonna change because the performance of this particular shadow is very poor. So I'm gonna be decluttering that, which means that the only shade that is remaining in this project is the shade Ripe right here. So we have 3 new roll-ins to randomize in today's update. Yeah, there's only a month remaining of this project, so I doubt that I'll make a huge amount of progress, but there's always a chance that I could end up actually making some great progress depending on what I pull in. And it's just a fun way to keep myself inspired with this project and with my eyeshadows in general. So let's pull the new shadows together right now. So every single one of my eyeshadows that is eligible for this project pan, meaning that it doesn't have a pan in it already, is in the Tiny Decisions wheel. So we are going to pull 3 new shadows together. I am going to do a screen recording so I don't forget what I select, and also to share it on the screen with you. So let's get right on freaking into that. The first eyeshadow selection is going to be from my Nabla Soul Blooming palette, the shade Garçon, I believe. No, I don't know. I don't know which shade that is. I think I only have 3 shades in that palette that don't have pan, and I don't remember what shade that is. Is it maybe the dark brown? No, I don't know. I'll grab it in a moment. And then next up I have ColourPop Lost in Wonderland palette, and the shade is called That's Logic. That'll be fun. I think that'll be fun. I have no idea what shade that is either, but it'll be fun to play around with that more like springtime kind of themed palette. And then the final selection that we are going to be working with for this next month comes from my e.l.f. and J. Kissa To The Rescue palette, the shade Cannoli. So I really don't know what that is either. Maybe it's a yellow. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go grab all three of those palettes and be right back to share with you the new color story. Alrighty, so I did swatch out the shade right here so we can build on the new color palette together. And the first shade that I did select comes from my Nabla Soul Blooming palette. The shade that I selected is Garçon. For whatever reason, I cannot remember which shade that is in the palette. Oh, it is a good old bronze shimmer here. I knew I had No Pan in the shade Anemone, but I couldn't remember the name of that either, which is like a navy shade. And I knew I didn't have Pan in Honey Drip, but why couldn't I remember Garçon? I guess because it's just a simple kind of neutral shade. This is actually something that I could quite possibly hit Pan on in a month, actually. Now that I'm seeing that particular shade, it is a beautiful color that will go with absolutely everything. And there is a little bit of a dip. There is some progress that has already happened on this particular shadow right here. This palette is getting a little bit older, so I have found that I have to kind of build up the metallics lately. So yeah, that's actually something that I think could be doable. Maybe for the finale of this project, I'll have a pan in that. And then next up, I did select another shadow from my ColourPop Lost in Wonderland palette. I've worked on this previously this year for a different shade, but the shade that I selected was called That's Logic. And I don't remember what it is. Oh, That's Logic is an orange shade. So again, we're staying in this very tonal kind of era. And looking at it, I actually don't think I've used this shade, which is bizarre because I've used every other shade in this palette in some capacity, but it doesn't look at all to me like I have used it. So this will be the very first time that I'm getting use out of it, and it does feel kind of chalky, a little bit dusty, but pastels generally do, and that is a terrible swatch because I'm doing that with my left hand, which is my useless hand, but I might end up just using that as a soft transition kind of shade, similar to what I have been doing with Peach Smoothie as of late. It will definitely go very well with these particular shadows, but as you can see, it's a very soft color and a soft texture, so that could lean into making it a little bit easier to hit pan on. Here is where we're starting at. As you can see, next to no progress, because I just swatched it for the first time. And then the final shade that I rolled into this project comes from my e.l.f. and J. Kissa To The Rescue palette. I am so happy that I'm gonna be focusing on this for a month's time because I have not really been reaching into this palette as of late. It's just something that I oftentimes overlook. I've had this in my collection for a couple of years. And so yeah, I just kind of forget about it. The shade that I'm gonna be working on is called Cannoli. Cannoli? Oh, there's Cannoli. Oh, okay. Okay, Cannoli is a vibrant blue shade, which is not what I was expecting at all. And this is so funny because it feels pretty reminiscent of my most recent color palette, just with a twist. So this is what I had been using last month, and this is where I'm at this month. Very comparable, but distinctly different at the same time, because now we got a matte blue to play with. We got this really light transition shade to work with. The metallic is a little bit more on the bronzy shade versus more orangey copper. And then I still have Ripe to use in tandem with all of those shades, and I think that these will all pair very well. I'll have a lot of fun with this color palette, and I'll be able to play with other shades in my collection in tandem with these, so that is super exciting. I have used the shade Cannoli in some capacity, but really not that much. Here is what it's looking like. That's what it looks like right there. There's a little bit of use, but these are not very deep pans, so it's possible if I really work hard on it that I could hit pan on it, but I'm not really into these vibrant blues like that, so I'll probably use it a handful of times just to ensure that it gets some use and I kind of put this palette to the test in general. but I don't actually foresee myself being able to hit pan on that. I think the only shade that I'll probably have pan on for the finale of this project will end up being the shade Garçon, if anything. And I'm okay with that because next update will be still very exciting. I want to share with you all of the pans that I hit this year through this project, kind of do like a series finale, and if you wish, because I do think next year I'm going to take a little bit of a pause from pan those eyeshadows for a couple of months. Perhaps a little bit longer, we will see. I'm actually going to try my hand at the project Level Up like I talked about in my last update. So we're gonna talk a bunch of stats in my next update, my finale for this project. We're gonna talk about my pan percentage. We're gonna go through the shadows that I was able to hit pan on throughout this year. And yeah, I am so excited for this next month of this project pan. I'm definitely looking forward to wrapping up this project in a month's time, but in any case, that, my friends, is absolutely everything. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.